Hi, this is David Brinn from the Jerusalem Post. Last week, I was fortunate enough to sit down with Rami Kleinstein, one of Israel's greatest musicians, and he talked about his transformation from moving to Israel when he was 8 years old, over 50 years ago, to becoming Israel's Billy Joel. Hope you enjoy it. Was music sort of like a solace to you when all the going back and forth? Is that when you start to learn the piano?
When I was in, well, my parents, when I was pretty young, they saw that I had this thing with music, and when I was in first grade, which was the first year here in Israel, they bought me an instrument called a melodica. You know what a melodica is?
Yeah, like a little harm.
It's like it
One
has
key,
a
right?
small keys,
One sulam.
and you have to breathe in for.
Right.
And that was in the first grade, and they saw that there was a lot of talent there, and when we moved back to the United States to Long Island, when I was in second grade, in the basement there was a piano. It was a rented home, but in the basement there was a piano. That was it. That's what started it all.
You took lessons or on your own?
And they saw that I had a very good ear for
Right.
music, and then I started studying classical music, and that was in second grade, and that was also in third grade. And then when we went back here, they looked for a good teacher, and we found the Barenboim family. They are actually the parents of Daniel. Yes. So I started studying at Aida, the mother, and then it was after a couple of years, she said she can't help me anymore because I was very good, and then I dreaded what she said. You have to move to the professor, which is Enrique Barenboim, which is a very, 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 very scary guy.
Her husband.
Yeah, her husband. He was actually Daniel's teacher,
Right.
and I was that was when I was in, I think I was in 11th grade. I think I studied around 2 years with him, and he had a lot of plans for me. I said that he really believed that I could be a great concert pianist, but I didn't want it. I wanted to write music.
You were listening to pop music and playing classical music, right?
Yeah, but he was a great teacher because he taught me so many important lessons in life when I was very, very young, that things that kind of in time it was in retrospect I saw that these 2 years were so important for me, even though I was very young then. And again, he was scary. But, למקום, לא לזוז, לא לזוז, למקום. So, I was.
You said you wanted to, so you even then you knew you wanted to write music. That was your.
I was set. He said one thing that was very important for me. He said I talked about genres and music and things, and he said, there's good music, there's bad music. It could be in any kind of music, but there's good and there's bad, because and that's something that goes with me until today, because I think you get into a certain age where you start thinking that there's nothing good going on anymore, and because you get set in your ways, and the 70s and the 60s and the 80s.
Right.
And I think that lesson made me open to listen to anything that comes out, and to really give it a good
Open
try
mind.
and an open mind. So, but I knew, and when before going into the Army, I said that I'm going to stop studying with him. And that's when I went into the Army. And
What was the first song you wrote?
when I wrote all the time. I think it was in 4th or 5th grade when I wrote songs. I think I wrote the first song for my mother's birthday. And the second song was for their anniversary. and just started writing songs all the time. And I didn't have ways to record it, so it was all in my head all the time.
Yeah.
And then I got a tape cassette, and I am not. I don't collect things, so there are probably hundreds of songs that I wrote, and
Right,
they're
discarded.
gone with the wind.
So when you were in the army, it was through on a lahakat tzvai, or
I was in a certain kind of lahakat tzvait because there wasn't. In that time, there was. They canceled the lakot because they said that they were too expensive and they weren't that important. So, I actually. You need something?
Oh, I was about to sneeze. But also the bathroom.
You're going good.
To the right.
A bit back, and then take a right.
Oh, here?
Yep.
You got it?
Yeah.
Found it.
Yes.
So I was actually performing before troops with an electric piano, and I was actually singing songs in English, Elton John, Billy Joel, things that I did before the army, and they saw me do that in bars when I was before, in my 2 last school years. I would perform in Tel Aviv and sing Billy Joel's songs, Stevie Wonder, Elton John.
Nice.
And then I went to the army, and I used to, just to perform like that.
Wow. Right. And that's where you met Rita, right?
I met Rita 1 year before the army. I was doing one of those shows in Tel Aviv, and a mutual friend who knew Rita here from Ramat Sharon. I was from Tel Aviv, and we met after one of those shows, and that the first time she saw me, she really didn't think she thought, wow, we could do things in music together, and I didn't hear her sing yet, so I just saw her, and it was like, oh man, oh wow, maybe we could be more than just friends, and it started, and we fell in love, and then I heard her sing, and then I was like her doctor. I was like she was Eliza Doodle, and I was her mentor, and I started working with her. Right, exactly. So it started off, and then when we went into the army, I was accepted, and it took her time until until she could make it. I think it took her about a year until she managed to go into the lahakat fight, and then we were a duo. We were Rami and Rita performing before, and then she already finished her service.
Right. So both of your careers kind of were simultaneous. Like her first album came up around the same time as yours, but you wrote most of the songs for her, right?
I wrote all of the songs and produced it. So that came out first. That came out first, and it was very successful.
Right.
And it was like a kind of change of style of music, but she was such a wonderful singer, and she had this mix of the West and the East. First of all, because she's Persian,
Right.
so she has that. Wherever we are in the Western world, when you have this mix of East West, it's kind of a blessing, and that was when her first album came out. My first album came out a couple of months later. Well, I had a couple of hats and a couple of things that I had to juggle around,
Right.
because I was her producer and I wrote her songs, and it was very important for me. It was more than just a job in that case. So I was working parallel, and it was I wouldn't say it was easy, but it was what it was, and I was very, very proud of what what was coming out of Rita's career. And in the second case, my career took a long time, a much more longer time to, to lift off.
Right.
And her, it was like magic. It came, it just sprung out.
Right, right. What was it like then in the mid '80s? The whole music industry in Israel was probably not as developed as it was now, as far as getting a recording contract in studios and promotion. I mean, were you like playing?
We had the contracts, and we had personal managers. We worked with the elite kind of record companies from day one. So that wasn't hard.
Okay.
That wasn't hard for us because because people believed in what we were doing, and it was very successful.
Right.
In that sense.
So you never really had to, like, besides performing in high school or at clubs, never had to perform like at like small clubs at the Penguin or places like that, like to get your name established. You kind of.
I did.
You did.
I did, but that was that was part of building my career. I had to build it from from the base because I think my music was. It was unheard first, and it was hard for people to understand who I was, and maybe in retrospect I would say maybe I didn't actually understand who I was yet, even though I wrote the music, and it took me time, and it was a different kind of path than Rita. Rita was born with this stage charisma, which took her very, very fast to stardom, and I had to work, work these small clubs, and it took me about 10 years actually. The songs were there, but the artist took time.
Did you feel okay or unnatural having to beat the whole MTV video phase, having to do videos? And I know you played a lot of time the guitar piano. What's it called?
Guitar.
The guitar. Was that like, did you feel it was like an ode to having to be like a star as opposed to focusing on the music? Was like one of the things?
No, I think it was a way.
Did you enjoy it?
I think it was a way of marketing, and it was a different. It was new. It was new, but I think it was an adventure. Actually, it wasn't something that was. It wasn't something that you didn't understand that you have to do. It was a way of promoting.
Right. But you enjoy being like being the focus of attention there?
Well, I wasn't.
Or do you have to develop that?
I wasn't. The way I was developed was much slower, to be the center of attention. It took many years for me to be part of that scene of being the center of attention.
Right.
I could like even 20 years ago, I could walk around and people would not recognize me. It was, I was like wine.
Right.
It took time, and from Rita, it was from day one.
Right.
It's different, and I think that it's very hard. It's very hard when you're young to have all this attention, because I don't think people are built for it. And when it takes time, I think you grow and you're more experienced, and it's easier for you. It's less hassle. It's less a hassle.
Right. Was there a professional rivalry between the two of you as far as when albums would come out? Like, mine sold more than yours? Or?
It couldn't be, because first of all, hers sold so much more, and then there was a certain time when we sold kind of the same, but again, I don't think it could have been a rivalry, because her songs were my songs,
right.
And I covered songs that I wrote for her, and mine. No, it would be hard to say. And then it's a female vocalist and it's a male vocalist.
Right.
No, I wouldn't call it a rivalry.
Right.
No.
So now you're doing the 30th anniversary shows for Tapuchim U Tmarim, and
that was actually the first album that really succeeded.
Right. So that's sort of like a quintessential Israeli album in a way, in a sense. Does it feel? Do you feel proud? And do you feel, how did this boy from Long Island end up making the quintessential Israeli album?
That was the story. The wonderful thing about it was that I wrote so many Israeli songs before, but never for myself. It was always, there was this kind of split in my mind that I can write Israeli songs, but but for myself I would write pop and rock songs, and that's not me. That's not me performing. I write עוד לא תמו כל פלאי for להקה צבאית, and שירה אהובת הספן for Rita, and a lot of Israeli kind of songs, but for myself it was something that I wouldn't do. And then there was this show by Gidi Gov and Yudit Ravitz, two very great artists, Israeli artists, and I was the producer. It was 1993, I think, or 1993, I think. 1993 or 94, and I was the producer, and it was, there were 18,000 people in Arad, in Festival Arad. And in the show, there was this place where they would just sit with their acoustic guitars and sing Israeli songs that they were their songs or they covered, and I was taken aback. It was crazy, all the production that I made, and it was so extravagant, and it was so big, and then they just, with the two guitars, they just played these old Israeli songs, and that was the peak of the performance. And I said, wow, they were 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds. They weren't old people. They were from all over the country. And it would, for me, it was like a shock, because I was in Tel Aviv. I was living in Tel Aviv. I was in this, small bar scene performing my pop rock synthesized songs, and then I saw, and I said, "Wow, it's not cut out as what I thought it would be, but I was never exposed to it." Because I never left Tel Aviv in order to perform in places like that. So then there was this song Tapuchim U Tmarim, and it was the first Israeli song that I wrote for myself, and that I started performing, and it was like a missile. It was it was crazy. So it is what I am, because I write these songs, and all your life you wanted to root down in Israel, and your parents left for the States, and your sisters went and lived in the States, and you're in Israel. It's time for you to really root down, and that was Tapuchim U Tmarim was that album.
Wow, nice. So you performed the whole album, right? Are there any songs, as you're rehearsing for it, thinking, this didn't date well, or this didn't, over the years, it's less than what I thought it would be?
Which was less? I didn't understand.
Are there any of the songs on the album that now that you're going to be performing, thinking, wow, this didn't really date well 30 years later as well
when
as
I
thought it would
I listen to this album,
and now you have to perform it
because I'm working on it. That's right. There are a lot of songs that date that they're in anything that I do. There are songs that date better, and there's songs that date less. But Tapuchim U Tmarim is Tapuchim U Tmarim.
It's more timeless. Right.
Yeah.
Nice. Excuse me if I don't know this. Have you ever recorded in English?
Well, 3 months, 2 months, 1 month ago, I recorded one song in English.
First time. Pretty much.
Yeah, but I had a reason. It was because I always said that even when I was very, very young here in Israel, there was no there was no MTV, and there was hardly TV at all. But there was this magazine called Lahiton, and I would read it all about my heroes, Elton John, Rod Stewart, Rolling Stones. And what I was reading there all the time was that these artists, they go on the road for about 2.5 years. And there are these special places on their tour where they would meet their families. And I said, this is not a life that I want. I don't want that kind of life. I don't. There's nothing. I want to be a family man. That's not for me. So I want to perform here. Anytime you have a show, you'll always find yourself back at home at the first night. Maybe if you go to a lot, so you'll have an overnight. But it's not that kind of life that I wanted. So a lot of people say to me, you could have been a great star because you have the background and you have the English. You could have say, yeah, I could have, but that's not what I wanted to do. But two months ago, I wrote this song, and it was important for me to record a song for people to listen to out there and give them my kind of feeling of what's going on here in all these 2 years. And it's called A Different Kind of Song. And you can find it in Spotify or in Apple. And that was the main reason, and it's the only song that I ever wrote in English.
Interesting. So I know you have children who are musicians, singers. What advice did you give them? Did you discourage them or encourage them or say do what you want?
Well, I'm not one of those parents who take the kids to the mini baseball and starts shouting at the coach and things like that. I'm not that kind of parent. But I didn't discourage. It was like, it's also with the first one is Meshi, the second one is Noam, and both of them, I took them to piano lessons but they left it after a year or two, and I didn't. I'm not one of those parents. No, you have to study. You have to study. I don't think that's not me.
Take it to Barenboim.
And it came naturally for them. For Meshi, she's much more of a fantastic vocalist and an actress, and also Rita and we were always there for her. And actually, what she wanted to do when she was young is that she wanted to go to these talent shows, and she was very young. She was like 7 or 8, and we didn't want her to be exposed to be like Rita and Rami's daughter. So we found this kind of loop, and we said maybe she'll do dubbing, and then she could work in dubbing, and she could sing, and she could do dubbing for children's and Disney movies. So she turned out to be a very great star in that, but nobody ever saw her.
So it was unnamed, uncredited.
Okay, and there was the name and the credit, but nobody actually, she wasn't exposed. But she started doing that when she was 7.
Wow.
And she's actually doing it till now because she loves it so much. It's like she's so good at it. And then she went and, she was in the Lakat Tzva'it and everything. And she found herself actually in musicals, which is very close to what her mother used to do in the start. And she's so great at it. And Noam is different. Noam is more of a writer, and again, Noam, when I think she was 12, she was 11, she's 12, says, and she said, Daddy, I want to study. I want to go back to study piano, but not classical music, because I want to be able to accompany myself. So I found her the right teacher, and she put her, she did it in a very, very nonchalant way. She found a way to start teaching her to read and things like that. And then she went into a very good musical school, and
Rimon?
Alon, Tichon Alon, and jazz started seeping in, and she started finding herself actually very early. Since she was 16, 17, I started going with her to all these places or record companies and promoters and trying to find and help her out. And that was when she was 16 and 17, and I was with her all this time. But she really created a very special ID. I call it an ID.
Nice.
That she has her own ID. She's very, very successful now.
I can tell you're proud of them.
Very proud.
How about your younger kids? Are they following the musical tradition?
Well, I was when I was to talk to everybody, say I just wish they won't. I just wish they won't. So the first one, who's going to be a bar mitzvah now, I'm so happy that he's so unmusical. I'm so happy about it. He's one. The second, she's a second daughter. From Alex, so she's the first daughter from Alex. She has stage. Maybe she's not a bel canto kind of singer, but she dances hip hop and she acts and I think she's stage spitting.
Nice.
I think she's stage spitting. And now the small one, he's 8, and he says he doesn't want to be in music, but he sings so good. He has this voice, and he's so talented, but he doesn't work at it. So I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Young enough.
He just says he wants to play soccer, and he's just this normal kind of a guy with a voice that he sings so well.
So obviously the last 2 years have not been normal for the country, but also for musical artists. What did you do? How did it change your life? What did you do? Did you perform at bases? Did you volunteer places?
Well, my go-to, because sadly this is not this is the this there was this was the most horrendous kind of attack that Israel ever had, but it's not the first time that we've been under a certain kind of maybe not calling it wars every time, but in Hebrew they would call it miftzah. Okay, so I've been through this thing. I don't know, since ever, I think, and when already I had like my career going, so my first thing that I had to do when things like that, usually it would take 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and people go in maybe in the north they would go down into the miklatim. So that's the first thing I would do. I would go with an electric piano and another guitar, or just me and a sound engineer, and we'd go to these miklatim. That was the first thing I always have to do, because I can't stay home. I can't stay home when this thing is, because I'm not, in one sense, I'm not a fighter, but I know that I need to do something with myself when these things happen. And I think that when I perform, I connect, and people connect to me, and for me, doing that is doing something with your time, which means something, and it has a meaning when Israel is not in a normal kind of mode. So it was always like that. So when this war started, I think after 3 days, I think it was on the third day, I was already on my way to Yam HaMelech, to the David Hotel. That's where the Be'eri refugees were. That was after 3 days, and I was I was kind of in the front line of those broken-hearted people. That was what I did. That was what I did since the beginning of the war, And it started off with the refugees, and it continued with the wounded in hospitals, and I collected tears and stories, and then there was to perform before the soldiers. When any time that they came for a breather out from Gaza, or from the Golan. So that's what I do when things like that,
Did you perform at Kikar Chatufim at all?
Excuse me?
Did you perform at Kikar Chatufim at all?
Sure. I was maybe a couple of times. I was at the Kikar Chatufim. Also with Meshi, we went once. And that was, it was a very, very hard time. But I was thinking to myself, what do people do if they're not fighting and if they're not working and just sitting home? I always thought that what I do with my life is a blessing, but in times of these, it's just such a blessing that I can go out and do something.
Right.
And when I go and perform before the fighters and they come after the performance, I say, Rami, thank you. It was so crazy for me that these guys are risking their lives and they're saying thank to me for what? For singing some songs. So I never really get the
Right.
I never really
They're
get
grateful
the
to
kind
you,
of
right.
the kind of way they think about it. But I have to thank them.
Right. So do you think the country will recover from this? And
You're asking me?
I'm asking you just as a person, not as a musician.
I think that we're in. I think we're in such a low kind of place. It's not only the country. I think us as a people, and I think the world or us or I don't know what. We've brought ourselves into such a low kind of place that I think it's going to take a long time. There's recovering. There's trauma. There is our the way people look at us today in the world. If it's not going to take a long time, a very long time, I'm afraid it won't happen. But it's not something that you can take this thing and flip it around in 2 months. Okay, now there's peace. No, I think there's a lot of thinking we have to do. I think there's a lot of important things that have been kind of pushed under the carpet for too long, here and in the world, and I think there's a lot of work.
But Israel is your home.
Israel will always be my home. I think even if I thought, if there was a very, very small thought coming into my mind that maybe it's going to be too hard here, I think the world gave me a good slap in the face saying, you can't come here. You just stay there. So thank you.
Right. So silver lining, because there were no international shows here for 2 years and may not be for quite a long time. Do you think that's helped the local music industry, the local artists, as far as bookings, as far as being more places to play, more in demand because there's no one else coming?
Well, it could be that it helps in that kind of sense, but I don't think that's a good. In any case, that's not a good thing.
Right.
I think we being turned into a certain kind of South Africa or a North Korea or that's a bad thing. I just want to pray that we can find ourselves in a place that we are part of the world again, because I don't think that this is a good thing in any sense.
Okay, last couple of questions. So if you were 18 or 19 again today in the era of TikTok and Instagram, whatever, would you still decide I'm going to be a musician and make records and do this? Knowing how different it is now and how
Different, and I wouldn't even know to say if it's different, difficult, or because every time I look at it, it's such a different kind of market here and in the world. But I think that if I was 18 or 17 or 16, I've never in my life, I never thought that I could do anything else than in music. It was never a different option for me since I was a kid. I always knew that was what I wanted to do. So if it would be a different market and different way of working, so be it. But I can't see myself in the world without doing what I do.
Nice. And my last question: reality shows. Have you ever been a judge on any of those music shows? If not, how do you feel about them?
Sadly, there was one year, and in that experience, I understood one thing: that prime time is the devil. Prime time is the devil, and you can't, and you don't know that until you're part of this system. It's not being, it's not an interview, and it's not even a morning show. When you go into prime time, you have this contract with the devil, and you're either with it or you're against it, and you can see that every reality is prime time. It's like it catches everybody and everything. I can't see any kind of reality show. If it's in music or in anything, it's so unreality for me, and we have enough reality like that.
Right. So when you're talking about growing up playing classical music, it reminded me there's a lot of similarities with Billy Joel. Did you watch the Netflix special?
No, but everybody says that I have to.
It's pretty amazing.
I have to.
Yeah.
Well, because he's my hero.
Is
he was the first album that I bought for my own money.
Which
The Stranger.
Piano Man, A Stranger.
The Stranger, and I was pretty close of getting to perform with him in the States, and that was before the 9/11, and his career there was in a very low place. He was performing before colleges and things, and I had a promoter who knew him, and I was this close performing with him, and then 9/11 happened, and then he turned into the savior of New York, and yes, well, I saw him perform a couple of times. The last time it was in about, I think, 3 years ago, or 2 years ago.
Madison Square Garden?
No, in Hyde Park. There was this back-to-back. No, I think it was still in the war. I think it was still in the war before. I don't remember. My Alzheimer is kicking in. But it was a back-to-back Bruce Springsteen, and the day later, a day after, it was Billy Joel. Two of my great heroes.
Great. So when people call you the Israeli Billy Joel, you take it as a compliment?
Sure.
Great.
Sure.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.